measure systems which they have to go through. Some of them are very clear, such as your CSR. Today we have something called an ESG, which is something called environment, social, and governance, which is where we expect companies to come up to a specific level and claim that they are, of course, doing their green initiate. How can you locally benefit? Locally, I can talk about Mumbai, but then there are many places where internationalization can result in solutions. And I think that's where we need to go. To be an Indian, I would say go back to the Veds. Because if you read the Vedic literature, you will important to understand that the current NEP has a specific structure. The NEP structure is such that it gives a student an opportunity to exit at multiple points. Not only at the third and the fourth, they can also exit before that.
Welcome to another episode of EduTalks by AB and Abhishek Boral Initiative. And today we have with us someone with a remarkable ability to bridge global academic partnerships and a deep rooted passion for environmental stewardship. She has been instrumental in shaping a more globally conscious and ecologically responsible student community. From curating transformative international collaborations to igniting environmental awareness amongst youth, her work exemplifies the intersection of education, innovation, and purpose. So we have Dr. Chandani Bhattacharjee, the Director for International Initiatives and Head of Department of Environmental Studies at HR College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai. Welcome, Chandani, to EduTalks by AB.
Thank you, Abhishek. It's indeed a pleasure. And in today's day and time, any initiative that we can take for student integration as well as global learnings is, I think, welcome. You're doing a great job, and I'm sure it will help a lot of students take informed decisions.
Thank you so much for your encouragement, Chandani. So, starting just head on, till now, there is a common perception that environmental studies or environmental sciences is still within the stream within the science and engineering faculty. Okay, so you had environmental studies in a college which reads for commerce and economics. So how does that environmental studies blend in with somebody who literally aspires to work in a corporate or work at a commercial entity?
Very, very interesting question. And largely, if you see the way in which the Indian academic systems have been designed, we kind of are put into standalone departments and in compartments. So if you are either from commerce, you're in commerce. You're from sciences, you're in sciences or in humanities. Very unlike that, if you are seeing the current transformation which has happened in academics, and it is largely to do with interdisciplinary studies. And hence, anything, any aspect, any subject which can absorb things from, or topics from, or ideas from, or concepts from any other subject is more than welcome. In this larger concept, maybe in the college like ours, we are one of the leading colleges in Mumbai. In a college like ours, we definitely largely cater to students of commerce, finance, management. But if you look at the curriculum they have, that has been designed keeping in mind the idea of the government's policy, where students have to be enlightened with environmental ideas. Hence, when we talk about commerce, commerce does not only have to keep in mind numbers, accounting, etc. It also has to incorporate aspects which come from other disciplines as well, making our subject more holistic, making our subject more balanced. And at the end of it, we can also claim that the students who have passed the different levels of academic stages would become students who will be more informed, who will be students who are able to take decisions which are more balanced. So, in a way, commerce students knowing environmental studies is absolutely a necessity, much more than one can actually imagine. So, it is not at all a challenge, and largely, if you are familiar with the landscape of the study evolving itself in India, based on a Kothari Commission report, almost every discipline has to have something on environment in them. So it is fine to have such, let's say, merged opinion as well as certain topics which can be introduced to these students in a much more, let us say, different aspect or an opinion which does not resonate with what they have been brought up with. So, disciplines today no longer have to be airtight. They don't have to be a standalone discipline because all disciplines have evolved over a period of time. So it is important that we are able, and I think it's a great step to have where we can bring in other subjects into the disciplines. If you see the national education policy as it stands today, they have aspects, so the entire structure is designed in such a way that there are some subjects which are definitely kept only as skill-based subject, some subjects
Hmm.
which are kept definitely as a language-based subjects, some subjects are definitely put down there for which is going to give them value added aspects. It's a value added courses that have been put. So they have ensured that the bouquet of things in front of an Indian student is no longer that classical, I am from sciences, so I'm just going to study sciences. I am from, let's say, commerce, and I study only commerce. So whatever we have had, it's now evolving. And I think it's a fantastic thing to have other subjects in our own. I hope that answers what you're looking for.
Absolutely, and I think it's very nice on how you explained how it got integrated into the curriculum part of it. But one small question that I have here, that is, with current companies needing to abide by the sustainable developmental goals part of it, the SDGs, which are currently so much in at this point of time in demand. Does this also give students a winning edge when they are looking at, say, jobs, not just in the home country but internationally as well?
It does, and I'm thankful that you're bringing this out. See, if you are looking at the current corporate demand for students, corporates have been told to take care or have been told to adhere to certain, let's say, structures and frameworks and measure systems which they have to go through. Some of them are very clear, such as your CSR. Today we have something called an ESG, which is something called environment, social, and governance, which is where we expect companies to come up to a specific level and claim that they are, of course, doing their green initiatives. So in an environment where corporates are also under the pressure to have qualified students to take care of the demands either of the maybe government in India or a government internationally, because we have transnational organizations as well.
Right.
It is good that we are able to train students with environmental knowledge. There's one thing about environment which we have to accept, and that is environment is just something you can't ignore. If you look around you today, you may say, yeah, it's fine, we're not going to do much about it. But if you don't do anything about it, in years to come, it's just going to boomerang on us. So I don't see a problem which the governments are going to face. They are just going to clearly tell you that we need these to ensure that your organization is doing well. So as long as such options exist, as long as those career options exist, it will be imperative that these students are trained. Whether we train them in classical universities and colleges, or the students take an additional training which could come in as a certificate program or maybe a hands-on in the form of an internship or whatever way an apprenticeship as you may call it is up to the student to do what that would mean. But largely, these disciplines will also open up jobs. And now the student who can be hired will have environmental knowledge as well as they will come with a additional powerhouse of commerce, management, or any other classical discipline he or she is trained for. So it's wonderful. And I think it's a greater step that some students are really having to take. Trainings are available today. There are platforms where you can get yourself trained for. Some of the very important hiring houses, consultancies, they self-train. So for that as well, they would require that you've got certain amount of basic information. So those are the areas where we can fill the gaps as academicians. Those are the areas that the subject can possibly maybe rise beyond whatever is expected of them to be able to deliver. That's all we will be required to do because eventually corporates will have to train what they want in their own way. So
Right.
yes, the discipline is pretty much in a position to create these jobs, and a student who wishes to pick up any discipline today should start training themselves or himself herself in a way that they are more job ready. That's what we all require.
So
So
in the utmost layman explanation of it, it can also be called as being environmentally conscious helps you get better jobs.
I like that one. I really like that one.
Getting on to your cap of being the director of international initiatives, so how do you balance the global exposure with, say, local relevance to your students, keeping in mind that both are equally important?
Yes, very interesting. Now, if I have to look at global exposure, there was a time when we were getting educated where global exposure was very, very feeble. If you recall our days, today it's there, it's available. The entire technology has expanded in such a way that it's very easy for us to try and engage with international faculty. You yourself have an experience in that segment, so you recall that we can at any time have interactions with international faculty. We can, I mean, in the past, unless a faculty visited us, it was not possible for us to engage. Now we can have these online engaging sessions. We have found as we're working in this space that the students in India are at least they want to. It's not that they are very happy where they are. They want to learn. They want to equip themselves. They want ideas, concepts, and things happening in the world. It's very easy for the students to get that matter on the computer. There is a AI which will assist them in getting whatever matter they want. But beyond the matter, what we have to learn is from an experienced person who's in the stream, who is able to deliver, who's able to give you some experiences which the AI is possibly not going to give you. Facilities, we have the opportunity, as well as a latent desire by the students to understand what is happening internationally. And what best than to engage with renowned faculty internationally, maybe research scholars internationally, and having our students being a part of the same. So as you map this journey, we have found that any student who is in a position to accept what's happening internationally, one never says that you discard what's Indian and Indian thought processes. That's very important. We've all been bred on the Indian thought processes, and we love the way we have been thinking about things. But sometimes getting an additional opinion, understanding how a subject has possibly grown internationally, sometimes understanding how the world is thinking about at any particular point in time. Sometimes it's also about you understanding what is required internationally to solve problems. Those aspects need much larger understanding, much larger maybe inputs from different stakeholders. It does not have to be only us. It has to be people who are sitting across the globe as well. and you have really trained people on both sides. From our side in India, you really have very good faculty, you've got very good experienced stalwarts in every discipline. So, beyond that as well, if you get an idea about what's happening internationally, and also one must understand that certain topics are really international. To understand international finance, it's easier to understand it through or with an international faculty. So you do need some of these inputs to get a holistic ideas to what your subject is talking about. And beyond, whenever we take, so a student possibly, whether it's in my college or any other college, a student possibly should, in his or her life, accept what's happening, adopt that, and make it a part of their learning journey. If that can be done, then I think we've reached a position where international ideas, concepts can be very, very quickly adapted. Thanks to the AI, thanks to the technological push that is there, thanks to our understanding, I think that is where we should use it to our benefit. And in the same way, you've asked a very I would say interesting part of that question was how does locally how can you locally benefit? Locally, I can talk about Mumbai, but then there are many places where internationalization can result in solutions. And I think that's where we need to go. And also, as you start increasing and growing in your, learning journey, there are people internationally who can pick up from us. So it's never a one-way street. It's something which they learn and they can take it from India, and what we can learn because they've got a best practice somewhere. And I have seen students do really well if they have just passed out a graduation and not done honors. I've seen film stars, I've seen so many people who are going that way. There are people who've not possibly even educated themselves to what you think is the only way forward. So there are pathways, there are new streams opening up, there are technical educations, there are jobs, there are internships. Some people start early and they reach higher. It's possible. Everywhere it's a possibility. And hence, whoever's taking a decision, it's a personal decision based on your dream and your opportunity and your capability. Some of us may want the fourth, but we don't have the required credit or even the mark requirement for it. So that is the layout. But again, um, it's wonderful that people can exit at different points. Think about it. Not everybody should do everything. Those days are gone when you started at one and you ended at, I don't know what level you would call them. Every child was going through the same rigor. Everybody was supposed to be doing the same thing. Diversity was not encouraged, and that is to change, and it has changed. And that's a welcome change for Indian students.
I think you very nicely explained it because it kind of sets the tone absolutely right that it is tailor made instead of one size fits all. So going to the last question for today's evening. So any book or any report that you think everyone who's remotely concerned with the environment should read as their first step towards being environmentally conscious?
It's so difficult to list that. The books which I would love to read are not the books that will others would want to read. Reports, there are several reports, but I always hold reports more as a kind of understanding as to where we are. So reports don't interest people so much, but there are lovely reports that have been enumerated and put down. And even we, whenever we take a discussion forward, we bring in those reports just to tell students that see, this is exactly where we stand. So today, if I tell you that yeah, it's a our temperatures are increasing by 2 degrees, you may want to see some data to understand why I come there. Or for that matter, when I say we are aiming after a specific declaration that we're going to go to 1.5-degree reduction of our temperature, you may want to say, why do you say that? I mean, why do I have to accept it? So those reports do help. In a sentence, if I have to say, the first book which turned around this discipline was a very well-known book in USA, which is called The Silent Spring. And I think every environmentalist reads it. But if you have to be an Indian, I would say go back to the Vedas. Because if you read the Vedic literature, you will understand how closely we have been intertwined with nature, and you can't throw that. So, any understanding in India, any student who can really master that much of time should read our ancient texts. I think that's where the entire knowledge really is. We may have moved to the moon and the Mars, but the ancient knowledge in India is absolutely irreplaceable. So anyone who can read the Vedas, anyone who doesn't want to go that, it's not being a sage, it's just understanding what we have. I would say that you could start with Rachel Carson's book. You could go to Darwin, another of our thumb rule books we always read. But again, Origin of Species has limited readership because people don't understand what the book is all about. So several books really, Abhishek, I can't really say that one thing can be read, but as a personal choice, I always tell my students, please go back and read whatever we've had in the past. I mean, whatever you read today as an new books is only where people's thought processes have grown on the ancient literature. So I suggest that because every practice is so scientific. Every way in which we lived with nature, if we had still lived, we would not be where we are. So I would recommend that, yeah, you have it all around you. So now go back to see why you have it around you. So that's my call, but students can read several. I think there are a lot of books that are really picking up in the market to be, where they would want. But you can't ignore the ancient.
Right. Thank you so much, Chandani. And I think, yes, not forgetting the roots is something that a lot of the students or the current generation should practice and implement. Well, thank you so much for your time. And for everybody, do let us know any specific areas that you may want an expert to speak on. And don't forget to hit the like button and the bell button for more such content. Thank you.